Hello YouTubers, diecast collectors, it is me, the J-Man63, and in today's review we're going to have some upcoming previews, and I do hope you will stick around, stay tuned, check my channel for more posts, and always watch the end for more videos that'll be in the description. Alright, so, cue the intro, let's roll. Alrighty guys, well, I am in here again in OBS Studio, and in today's video we have a very special piece of drag racing history. Yes, that is right. We have the Greer Black Prudhomme dragster, and I have to be very careful about how I hold said car because I absolutely do not want to drop this. This is a model I paid quite a good amount for, and it is very extremely nice. So we're kind of redoing some videos. We're also premiering a lot of stuff that has never really been seen on the channel. Hang on a second, move this damn camera here so it's a little more centered. There we go. That is so much better, don't you think? Alright, so up front here we have our metal looking front splitter, and then you have your suspension. I don't exactly think our suspension actually works, but there's some very skinny miniature small tires in the front. These actually roll pretty darn well, honestly. These are probably the best rolling wheels I've seen on a GMP, not that that really matters. I believe these spokes are actual metal, so yeah, it's very cool. Actually, this is actually removable. You can take it off, however, I don't recommend doing this a whole bunch of times as you probably might break it. But that doesn't even come close to the detail of actually the front end here, and we can show this off first. This actually is a removable cowling. You can see this actually has the lizard nose that this cars were actually known for, where the Greer Black Prudhomme dragsters were some of the first ones to have this. And this actually was, a lot of these were in the Snake and Mongoose films, so if I can very carefully try to actually lift this if it wants to cooperate with me. Hold on a sec. You actually have to kind of get your finger in there. I would prefer to do this off camera, however, it's not wanting, hold on. There we go. Okay, so yeah, you actually have to make sure this cowling is pretty tight in order for the parts to actually want to mate up. However, I don't recommend removing this too often, just because there is such a great risk of messing up said model. And I'm actually setting the cowling right here. Yeah, you can easily scratch this bodywork if you're doing this too much. So I would not recommend removing said cowling much too often. Here is the front end right here, whereas these dragsters are known for a lot of their detail. And we actually might review Don Garlitz's car. I'm thinking that might be next. I have the Swamper at 3, so we might actually just do that. Little thing here is the belt on this motor is actually rubber, whereas you'd expect to see that on this engine. And just look at the absolute extreme attention to detail on this model. And I don't believe the steering wheel actually steers. I think this is all just mocked up. I don't think the steering wheel actually works, unless I'm mistaken, and I don't think it does. But you have your drag link set up in the front. Just an extremely nice model. I'm going to be putting all this back. This is going on my shelf as soon as this set review is over, because I don't like to take these out. I don't like to review these because these are just such high-end, high-dollar models that I don't normally like to take these off my shelf. So if I'm reviewing these for you guys and I'm premiering them, you guys are extremely lucky that I'm actually doing these, because I don't just take these off my shelf too much. But here's the motor again, and just extremely well done. And just like a view from the top here, without knocking that off, and we're going to show that next, which this is a very cool part of this. This has been called the banana car by a few members of my Discord, and I definitely can see the resemblance. So a few things to note with this cowling, and you can see there's a parachute pack in the back, and I estimate this is where the chassis comes through. A few things about this cowling: you want to make sure you're careful when you remove it. To all you newbie collectors out there who just collect Jadas and stuff, and if this is like your first real high-end model, and I'd recommend being very careful. If you're displaying it, I would only display it maybe if you want to remove a few of the parts. Especially be careful of things in the cabin. And we did just remove this cowling. As you can see, it is very thin. This plastic, it would be very brittle, so you have to be very careful when you're removing your pieces. So onto the interior. Now that this car is stripped down, I feel a lot more confident kind of holding it in this position. I didn't feel as confident before. So here's your interior. I assume the seat is kind of a soft cloth. I don't really know. Yep, I think it's a soft touch rubber on the inside, made to be like the actual cars. And then, as you can see, pretty much you are sitting on the actual rear end of said car. And this is actually when drag racing was a very dangerous sport. It was actually when this was first in its infancy. If I can show this more, very cool interior here, and you can actually see there was actually, let's see if I can show it on camera here, there's actually a footprint gas pedal. And one thing to be very careful of when you're putting this on, especially be careful of the stick shifter. I felt I almost knocked it off. Thankfully I didn't, but you want to be absolutely careful of this little guy right here, the stick shift, of course. But, and you know, especially being said, this is just a very nice model. Now there is another version of this you can buy, which is the real art replica version of this, although it is pretty expensive. But remember to stay tuned to my posts as usual, and I'm going to put this guy down in a minute, and I'm going to hold this right here while I tell you, make sure you check out the premieres, make sure you stay tuned for everything else. And before I drop this thing, let me cue the outro, and I will see you guys later. Make sure to check out the vids at the end. Alright, J-Man 63 out. Alright, bye.